All right, it is 5:01, so we're going to get started. I am Paula Dooley from Stephen Ross Wine Cellars, but here today from the SLO Coast Wine Collective, and I'm welcoming Tom Greenough from Saucelito Canyon, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things. So thanks for being here, Tom.
Yeah, no problem.
What's in your glass today before we get started?
I have our new rosé release. I think we released it. I think it's in our next shipment. It's a Greenough from Moorview Vineyard in the Valley, our estate rosé, and Mourvedre from Paso.
Nice. Well, I told you I was going to go to my cellar, and I found a 17 Zin Backroad Zin, and it's delicious. I'm pretty sure that bottle will be empty by the end of the night once I take it home. My son can drink now, so there's 3 of us, so we can knock that thing back in no time. And so what I am particularly interested in is being a second generation winemaker. First of all, is Bill like up in your face, or do you pretty much do the heavy lifting and he's enjoying more free time?
Oh yeah, he's probably, he's probably like 80% retired. He helps with big purchase decisions and some logistics. But I think we've kind of, we've added so many more different wines and different, different styles of winemaking. Not winemaking really, but yeah, just different types of wine, whites and different varietals. So he's a little out of his depth, but I still talk to him about the vineyard, just with what his experience has been in the past with, especially, like with the heat wave and the humidity we've had. I talked to him about it. He's like, oh, it's never been this hot out here before. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, well, he deserves a break. He's worked hard these decades.
Yeah. But they bought the ranch in 72 or 73. He's been there, ever since. A long time.
It's amazing. Well, that reminds me of something that TJ said about Mayo, that Mayo Zook from Piedra Creek, that a wine's first obligation is to be read. Yeah. And I guess when Saucelito Canyon started producing wines, I would guess that was true. But yeah, let's talk about some of the wines that you have come up with since you have been the winemaker. And I want to start with Field Blend, because that's I don't know if that's what I read. Actually, I just saw it on your email, on your website, but it's such a great name. Whoever thought of that, because that is one of the more romantic terms of winemaking, much more so than like punch down.
Yeah.
Or pump over. Yeah. Field Blend brings it all home. It's agriculture, it's a choice. So tell us about that wine.
Yeah, kind of started with the idea we were doing carry-on, old vine carry-on from Oakley, California, in Contra Costa County. It's really close to the Delta, actually, and so they have 100-year-old vines there. So we were getting the carry-on and selling that single varietal, and then I kind of wanted to sort of switch it up a little bit, and so they also have Mourvedre and Zinfandel there. So we decided to purchase a small amount of all 3 varietals and co-ferment them together to try and, because that was a very traditional, they just pick everything in the vineyard and ferment it all at once. So kind of trying to do a little more of a kind of historical aspect, since we kind of have historical vineyard. It's sort of our little thing. And yeah, it's from a production standpoint, when you co-ferment everything, it's instead of 3 lots, I have 1 lot. So, it makes my life a little easier as well.
Well, I was going to ask, is it easier, or is there anything tricky about the fermentation because the grapes are different? We don't do that here, so I don't know anything about it.
We, everything kind of comes in at, sort of different ripeness. And since it's, it's several hours away, we're not going to do any type of multiple picks. I don't want to drive up there 3 times. So yeah, it actually, it can be, it's with only the second time we've done it, and each time it's always worked out. So numbers came in really great this year. And there's no real difference in the process of making it. It's just, just talking to the grower, and, when he thinks all 3 varietals are right, kind of at the, right point, then that's usually when we go in and pick it. Because, growers tend to know their vineyards more than the buyer. So I usually listen to them.
It is true. Asking questions of the growers is probably one of something that doesn't happen enough, because they can fill your ear with good information about their vineyards. Yeah.
We usually know every little small nook and cranny of it.
Yeah.
We have 12 acres and I have like 13 different individual picks that I do just based on, growth and how the fruit usually turns out.
Wow. So tell me about some of the whites that you have these days, and we'll just throw one up to Mayo for white wine.
Yeah, we do. We do a Grenache Blanc, a straight Grenache Blanc from Paragon Vineyard, and then we do a Cote de Blanc, which was traditionally all sourced in Paso Robles. It started as a Grenache Blanc, Roussanne, Marsanne, and Viognier blend. And then I kind of simplified it to just Grenache Blanc, Roussanne, and Viognier. And then this year we're actually, because I'm trying to kind of switch all my fruit sources to Edna Valley or Arroyo Grande. So this year it's just a Grenache Blanc and Viognier from Paragon. And so the Cote de Blanc tends to be a little, I will pick the Viognier slightly riper than the Grenache Blanc just to give it sort of more of like a little more of a mouthfeel, kind of more like softer flavor profile.
Grenache Blanc is so wonderful, and it's one of those wines that wine geeks really like.
Yeah, that's why we started making it. It's because it's one of my favorite varietals.
Yeah, it is. Like, yeah, I mean,
most of our, the new labels and blends that we've been doing, it all kind of started just because of those wines I like to drink. It's when I can make them and drink them for free, just say it's like part of my salary now.
Yeah, and did you tell me that you have 2 different rosés?
Yeah, we have it's like our vertical or pink label rosé, which is part of our kind of our blend lineup. So that's kind of everything we bring in. I'll pull a little juice. I'll actually instead of pulling juice from after it goes through the stemmer, I usually will just throw like a half ton into our basket press and just do a light squeeze on it and just get the runoff from that and use that for the rosé program. So it's pretty much the vast majority of it is Zinfandel, and then there's usually like little Grenache and a little Tempranillo in there.
Well, I don't think I've had the 19, but I have had it probably because I never go anywhere right now, but yeah. I've had many of your other ones, and it's delicious.
Yeah, it's been really fun to make, and it's definitely it's a little more work on the production side, but rosé is just really fun to make in the drink, so I've always really enjoyed it. And then we have our white label, which is kind of like our more premium that we picked fruit just for rosé and do a whole cluster press, and that tends to be with the Mourvedre, it's a little more of the what's the region in France that has the 100% Mourvedre rosé?
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways,
short. It's like 2 syllables. Short one. Starts with an M.
Yeah. It's not Provence. It's the other one.
Well, there's the Languedoc. It's not the Languedoc.
No, it's not the Languedoc. Anyways, but yeah, so it's a little more, has a little more kind of mouthfeel, and it's not as like bright and crisp as the pink label.
And so so out at the the vineyard, the old vineyard at the winery, that's all Zen, and I'm sure all goes into your red Zen because it's got to be your premium. What's going on out there? How is it working out there in the boondocks?
It's definitely a little difficult, if for example, like say you need, just the other day I needed it was like a 7/16 bolt, and I didn't have one, and I just couldn't move forward until I went to the 2-hour trip to the hardware store.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little difficult, but it's just it's a really nice spot out there, and it's besides all the fact that kind of the headaches of being so isolated, it's really nice because you're always outdoors, and it's just there's like good views. It's a little hot. It's kind of I don't do very well in the heat. In my house where I live in Sea Canyon gets super hot, and then I drive to work, and like everywhere in the middle between where I start and end up on my commute, it's about 20 to 30 degrees cooler than so I just seem to only live and work in hot places.
Yeah. I have a really great memory of being out at the ranch house there at the winery 22 years ago because I was pregnant, and we did a winemaker dinner, and whoever, it must have been an auction item or something, but your mom had her good silver out there, and we were out on the deck, and it was pretty
Oh, that was
amazing.
what's the chef's name? He had
Jose.
yeah.
Yes. He called us and we said, do you need anything while we're headed out there? And he said, yes, I need some butter. And when we got there, he took the entire pound of butter and put it right in the frying pan. And we went, okay, well, now we know why his food is so good.
We redid that for an auction lot again. I don't know, 6-7 years ago with Jose again, and it was a lot of fun. It's the first time I've had a caviar. I actually really liked it.
He works his magic to get people to eat things that one wouldn't normally eat.
Speaking of, we also have a Cabernet Sauvignon and Cab Franc planted out in the vineyard.
Oh, and what do you do with that Cab Franc? That's hard to find around here.
It goes into we do like a small bottling. We call it the Sauvage. It's our estate Bordeaux blend. And then actually what did we just bottle? We just bottled so 2019, we did a kind of an estate field blend, and then I named it after my daughter, who just turned a year ago, about a month. So it's about 13 months.
Happy birthday. I love Cab Franc. It's hard to find around here, I think. So
yeah. There's not too much out there, and so it's usually we got about equal parts Cab and Cab Franc. The Cab Franc tends to be a little more floral, but then the Cab is definitely a little more robust, kind of a bigger tannin structure.
And are there other vineyards out there that you buy fruit from anymore? I thought there.
Yeah, there's another vineyard about, I don't know, half a mile down High Mountain Road from us, past us. It's a Big Baldy vineyard, at least that's what I call it. And so it's about 2 acres of Zinfandel. So I manage that vineyard, and we pull all the fruit from that. And then we actually started, our old friend, Michael Bergelli, who worked for my dad for a couple of years, took over sales for, I forget what the company name is, but the company that farms the Rancho Grande vineyard, which is a big vineyard. It's a couple hundred acres.
Yeah.
And then we used to always buy Zinfandel from the Betrero vineyard, which is kind of up on top of this mountain right above us. It's all dry farmed. It's really, really fine sandy soil. And so we started buying a couple tons from there again. And so that goes in, they'll probably go into our Dos Ranchos blend possibly. But so there's the two other little vineyards we buy from. And I used to buy Zin from Toucan Vineyard out in Wasna, but they took the vineyard out, and they're, I think they're enjoying retirement now.
He tried to make wine as well.
Yeah, he had his own label for quite a while. I mean, really small production. I think he was there for made wine for, I don't know, almost 10 years, and then we bought fruit from him for I think 3 or 4. But I think they just wanted to garden and cook and hang out.
Yeah, so really tiny production is a labor of love, and it's a focus on the labor.
Yeah. It ends up being, especially, you end up spending more time trying to work on sales than you do any farming or winemaking.
Yeah, well, that can bite us all. Let's talk about Rabble Rouser, because that's how long has that label been around?
I think probably going on 4 years, I believe. And yeah, that was I don't know if I should say this, but that was actually a mistake on my part, because I thought I had signed a contract for 1 year of fruit from a vineyard in Paso, and it turned out it was an evergreen. So we were locked into another 5 tons. So I decided just to kind of create it, make it in a different style, and start our own, another label for the program. So we kind of make it in more of like a what I deem like more of a Paso style Zinfandel. Our estate's is, a little more like restraint with higher acidity and kind of lower on the alcohol side. So I made it sort of definitely more like jammy, like softer, and much more kind of approachable at a younger age. And it's been pretty successful, but I still always try to keep everything in kind of the lower alcohol threshold, and shooting for low 14s and usually getting around 14 and a half. So because I just think things just work out better when they're like that.
Yeah, I commend you for that, because there are a lot of Zens from our friends up in the north that are gigantic, and as a 5'3" person, I just can't do 16%. So I really enjoy when it's a 14 anything. I'm much more likely to drink more of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's much more approachable. Especially once they start to age a little bit, because the alcohol never goes away, but like the phenolics and the tannin structure will soften, and so then you just really pick up a lot more heat with the especially when we're talking about like 16% alcohols. So I just think overall they make the wine much more balanced and more enjoyable,
more delicious.
Yeah.
Do you guys, setting COVID-19 aside, do you guys still do any like library type events out there with your older Zens?
Yeah, so we always did a futures tasting in it's in July. Yeah, it's usually in July, where we have we do barrel tasting in the tasting room, and we have a band, and we have like a table decoration competition, and people bring their own lunches. So usually it's a really fun event. But since we couldn't do that this year, I blended a little earlier, and then just bottled every week, the different wines, and then they did like kind of, the tastings at the tasting room, and just in these little bottles. And so that actually worked out really well. I think people seem to really, really enjoy it. But yeah, hopefully we can get back to doing events out at the ranch, because I think it's kind of, it's a pretty unique, isolated spot, and it's fun to have other people come out there, and it actually makes me, clean the property a little bit too, which
like having company.
Yeah,
Gotta clean up for company.
I gotta look professional.
Well, I hope we can get back to events, but that like we used to know, but you guys do have space out there and at your tasting room where you guys can really spread people out, it seems like.
Yeah,
I'd like to,
yeah, my sister and brother-in-law really put the hammer down, and before any of this happened, they took it upon themselves to build a huge deck all by themselves. So that was perfect timing. So having that deck and the whole patio area has been really helpful for us, especially right now.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of your operation out there, like on Instagram and stuff, and it just looks really, really great.
Yeah, it's a nice spot. Catherine and the all the taste room staff, they've really stepped up, and they've been doing a lot of work.
Yeah. And is it 7 days a week now?
Yeah, still 7 days a week, and just I think like everything, it's appointment only. And yeah, I think we open at 10 10 to 5. I don't know.
Oh, so long. Yeah, I remember before we were able to open, kind of strategizing with your mom a little bit about hours and people and reservations and what was life going to look like, but I actually haven't talked to her for a while.
Yeah.
Not since then. So with regard to your wines, we all know we can go out there and do a tasting, and I need to put that on my list of things to do, or I should say visit the tasting room. How else can people get your wines? Do you guys ship pretty much everywhere?
Yeah, we ship, throughout California. And then, I haven't worked in the tasting room in 10 years, so I don't know what, with all
conceptually.
Yeah, so I don't know what states we can ship to, but everyone at the tasting room knows. And then we actually just switched distributors, and I forget his name. I forget the company's name, but he's been doing a great job. So we're sourced locally in the Central Coast. I think I think, like Monterey to LA, I think is where our distributor works. So we're over wine shops there. And then we actually, if you ever go to Japan or Sweden, you can find our wine there as well.
Nice. That must have been kind of fun to set up. Japan seems harder than Sweden. Like, it's pretty easy to get things, not to get distribution, but to get product into the EU is not, there's not a lot of paperwork involved, but Japan seems like it would be a lot more work.
Yeah, we do have to send out, like, we have to do special lab work on the wine before we could send it there. But I think it's the Nakagawa Corporation. I think we've been working with them for quite a while. They've actually been out to the vineyard several times. They do every couple of years, they bring their whole sales staff out. So yeah, it's kind of fun. I went to Tokyo quite a while ago, and there was actually quite a bit of California wine on the wine list there, and I stopped by a couple wine shops, and yeah, there was lots of, there was lots of things from the Central Coast.
All right.
I saw like Tapas Creek in a bunch of places, and there's a couple of Tapas Creeks, what I remember. Yeah, so actually there's quite a bit of California wine in Japan, believe it or not.
Hopefully their new prime minister is a wine drinker.
Oh, really?
I hope. I don't know. He just taking office right now. And then, are there wines that you guys make that only go to your club members, or does everything eventually get offered up to
yeah,
Joe?
Definitely. We have our kind of our black label lineup. So we have it's our Heritage Zinfandel, which is kind of like a newer planting of our old vine clone, and then I neutral barrel ferment all of that, and then age it in about 25% new oak. And then we have our Sauvage, our just straight Bordeaux blend, which is Cab and Cab Franc, and then our Elodie, which is our estate field blend, and then we have our 1880 Club, which is our just sourced from our one section of our old vine vineyard. So that's none of those ever get distributed. They're pretty small production, and so it's usually just wine club. And then there's several others. I mean, we do like 20 or 22 different wines.
Hard to keep track of what goes where, I'm sure, when you're in the one in the cellar and not the one in the tasting room. Or
yeah. So you like our Tempranillo that we get from Letitia. I think that's only in the tasting room pretty briefly. And I think we're releasing a Edna Valley Grenache. I don't know, I think about 6 or 8 months. And I think that's also a pretty small production, so that probably won't go, that won't be in the tasting room very long either.
I just love our cool climate Grenaches. So tell me what vineyard that's from.
It's from Moravie Vineyard. So you can't see it. It's off Orchid Road, but you can't see it. It's kind of, if you go past Wolf, heading south towards Lopez, there's that long straightaway, and then right before there's like kind of uphill left turn. Right before that, there's a right-hand gate. There's a gate and there's a whole bunch of citrus, and then it's kind of behind that. So it sort of borders up against Green Gate Vineyards.
Oh, yeah.
It's our second year working with it, or this will be our second year, and I've been really happy with it. Grenache is like one of those things where it has to be like the right clone in the right spot in the right climate, and like the right fruit stock, because you can get. I've gotten Grenache from for our Dos Mas blend is the Grenache Zinfandel Petit Syrah blend, and I've gotten that Grenache from there for that blend from probably 5 different vineyards, and it's they're always it's always sort of you never really know what it's going to be like until you bring the fruit in.
When I talk to people about Grenache, I say it's one of those magical varieties. It can grow. It is delicious, but different in a hot climate and cool climate. It just it doesn't whack you out the top of the head, but it is so wide and delicious. It's a broad band of aromas and flavors when it's cool climate Grenache. It's one of my favorite things, actually.
Yeah, it's really it's almost it's like it's not like Pinot, and it's not like, like a warm climate, Rhone blend or anything like that. It's kind of its own little niche. It's like really kind of more complex aromatics and flavors, and I really like it. I'm really happy that we're able to get fruit from there.
And actually, in 2 days, it's International Grenache Day. So
Is it really?
you can hashtag that
Oh,
day after tomorrow. There's Hospice Rhone is doing a big promotion on worldwide Grenache, which is kind of fun. But there's some social media fodder for you.
maybe I'll make a date and go visit the vineyard on that day then.
Yeah, there you go. I went out to actually take some pictures of Grenache clusters, and I'm used to Pinot clusters that are like that big, and
Yeah,
Grenache clusters they're
they can be monsters.
they're sizable. Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, can we get Pinot clusters like that in our vineyard, please? Just from a yield standpoint.
Uh,
Well, let's see. Does anybody who's on have any questions? You can throw them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Oh, Liz answered the question earlier. Bandol was that?
yeah, that's what it
Yes.
is.
And actually, when I saw that pop up on the chat, I thought she said bando. I was like, I don't know what that means. Bandol. Good job, Liz. Does anybody else want to wave a hand? I can't see pictures of everyone in my screen. Nope. All right. Well, thank you, Tom. This has been really great. I appreciate your time. I know that it's incredibly precious during harvest. It's incredibly precious all the time because really there's never a time when there's not a lot of work to do in a winery. But this time it's really hard to carve out a half hour on a weekday.
Yeah, there's no problem. I think starting on Friday is when we're going to get, really slammed. So this, actually the timing worked out perfectly.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, because it's harvest time, 501 is now every other week. So in 2 weeks, we'll be back with a focus on Spanish Springs Vineyard, which is a vineyard just outside the Edna Valley on the way to the coast. And we have a handful of producers who will be in on that Zoom call, so that'll be fun. I do want to say I'm excited about your renewed focus on Edna Valley and Arroyo Grande fruit for your brand, because we've got a lot to offer around here, and I like to see the fruit going to an established brand that has really great wines. So
Yeah, I think it's, I just think it's a good idea for not even just branding, but, just exploring all the different options that we have in the area. That's, people always just think Pinot and Chardonnay, but, the Grenache Blanc that we grow up here in the Edna Valley, I think is pretty top notch. And as I said earlier, the Grenache is, phenomenal.
Yeah, 20 years ago, we didn't have the choices that we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Tempranillo we get from Leticia, which is Arroyo Grande, that's I think we're one of two wineries that produce it. And it's kind of, it's not like any other Tempranillo I've had. I really like it. It grows right next to Pinot and Chardonnay on this hillside. So it's pretty special too.
That's fantastic. Well, everybody here should go check it out. Nancy's waving.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, go drink something delicious and eat something amazing, because you all deserve it. And we will see everybody in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tom. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.